Like, if right now today was the day you're going to walk out and get into a gunfight, like, are you prepared for that? We've had this conversation with a bunch of students. We talk about HEB and the aisles in HEB, and we talk to their security team. How long are the aisles?
Yeah,
like 30-something, 40 yards in an HEB
if not
aisle.
longer.
Yeah. How do you feel? Are you comfortable shooting that distance? And I've been doing in classes like 80, 90 yards with handguns. It's so weird to walk into a dogmatic like military training program again and hand off. Like, I'm allowed to teach whatever I want, so I'm teaching more modern training techniques and how to use the visual efficiency and all that stuff. And they're like blown away because a few of the guys go out and train on their own, but most of the guys they're reading off the TM.
Yeah,
and it's pretty interesting because when I talked to them originally, they have M18s with safeties. And I was like, how do you guys carry your guns? And they're like, oh, loaded chamber, no safety. We just put it in the holster. I was like, that's one way to go.
I guess that M18 really doesn't have to have a safety.
I mean, it's a striker fire gun.
It's still striker fired.
Yeah.
But the safety they put on there because of some...
It's a military contract.
I mean, it's
that's why Glock didn't get a contract, because they wouldn't put a safety on the gun.
I mean,
because they know
it'll go off.
They're just going to...
They're going to carry it off anyways.
Well, you're going to turn it off anyway.
But if you draw it and the safety's on...
dead wood.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they just had that shooting at Chapman. It's right across the street from... Yeah. It's the annex over. It's where they do all the Air Force Special Operations in-dock and stuff, and they have their CADM training in the range and everything.
Was the shooting over there?
Yeah. Some car pulled up to the gate outright right on the fence line and started shooting into the base.
Oh, wow.
And took off. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and then came back and did it again. And I guess security forces guys realized they were getting shot at and re-engaged. No one was injured. But... I can't take credit for that. I didn't train.
So was the guy just like wanting to get arrested, or
they said it was some kind of gang initiation or something in town. That's what
had to do it twice.
Yeah, they had to come by and do it again. But they were like, no one was injured. I'm like, man, someone should have been. Like, it's like 30 yards, guys. Come on, I know you can do that.
Yeah, come on now.
Just hit a car, hit something.
At least hit something. Yeah, at least
that gang initiation should have been shorter.
Right? Exactly. Let's stop this one right here. No, but it's interesting because dealing with the military again and that training mindset, it's so different. I mean, they're of the opinion that, like, oh, well, are they passing their qualifications? They're like, well, the training's getting done. I'm like, yes, ish, but at the same time, they're really open to it. The commander, I spoke with the commanders and the guys over there, and just be able to talk to the guys that are out there teaching, and they eat it up when they see themselves get better at shooting, and they're able to pass that on. They're using the training techniques and been doing instructor development with them, so it's awesome. I really enjoy it, and that's kind of changed my mentality towards teaching as well. You see people that are hard learners in class, people that really come in and they struggle. Those are the people that teach you the most, right, as an instructor, because you have to figure out how to talk to them. You got to figure out how to communicate to them, and that's hard, because a lot of times it's punishing for you because you're having to beat through this hard exterior, whether it's they're resistant to it, they're like, oh, I'm good enough, or I don't need any of this. I've carried guns my whole life. I'm like, yeah, that's terrifying. So, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. It's been a meaningful process for us to really dig into teaching hard learners, and I've started to enjoy that, actually. So,
yeah, they'll definitely teach you a little bit.
It'll test you.
Well, there's definitely a science to it.
Yeah.
You can't just throw out grip sights trigger everybody.
Before we get, or go ahead.
After you.
I was going to say, before we get too far, let me go ahead and introduce the guests. I kind of half-ass rolled it in, but we'll do a full-ass roll in it now, I guess. BTO Podcast, you know what you're listening to. Ike, Chris, and reoccurring guests. We got Hunter. I think you might hold the record for most appearances.
Oh, that's cool. No? Close.
What's he at, like 3 or 4 now?
This is 4.
4.
Yeah. That's got to be close.
Brian.
Oh.
I'm representing him today. All right, Brian.
Yeah.
Slytech might have
He might have me beat.
Yeah, he might. I forgot about old Brian.
And if I tell him that he's about to, yeah, it is, right? Like, I'll tell him that he's almost about to be beat, and he'll show up for like 3 classes. It'd just be smoked. Just be sitting over there like, he's like, I'm tired. I just got to take a nap.
Dozing off.
The classes will be on the schedule tomorrow.
We also have Matt over here. He's, what, second or third time?
Second time,
yeah. You've been on here before.
Yep.
But yeah, Matt and Hunter come back for more. Season 3. I think you were on a season 1, right?
Season 1.
We were one of the first few.
We were one of the like
you're in single digits, I think.
6 or something.
Yeah.
That was when we first kind of.
Now we're probably close to 100 right now.
Yeah.
Oh, is it that many?
Yeah. Well, we recorded Carrie's. we're releasing his as number 100 because he was the first episode.
Yeah.
So Carrie's coming back. We already recorded it, but it's gonna be number 100.
That's
so
cool.
y'all might be 99 or 101 or something like that.
Yeah,
Nice.
I just uploaded 96 yesterday
awesome.
with John from Kinetic Consulting.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah, he's 96. I got it all in a little worksheet in there.
He's got the
But
plan.
the products that y'all announced in season 1,
Finally. It only took us 100 episodes.
Oh,
we now have them.
Yeah.
They will be up on the website before this is released.
Yeah, man.
Hopefully. So.
But Hunter, so to kick it off, you had just recently made an Instagram post about kind of some changes going on with you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to kind of recap that for anybody that might have missed
Yeah,
that?
I can do that. So at the end of this year, I'm leaving the Modern Samurai Project banner, and I'm going off my own, underneath just Hunter Freeland Shooting, right? And we made this joke earlier. I went through all the naming options, and I went through all the Greek gods and the Roman emperors and everybody I could think of, and I thought, none of that is me. It's pretty straightforward. Let's just name it Hunter Freeland Shooting.
Nice.
Right? So it worked out well like that.
Kind of Frank Proctor-ish.
Yeah,
He goes,
sure. Yeah.
Well, he's
It's
way the gun,
super
I guess,
simple
but-
and straight to the point, right? I'm not trying to add more flash and flair than it deserves.
Like a taller Tim Herron.
Yeah, like a taller,
Better looking.
bearded Tim Herron. Sure.
Much taller. It's like two Tims stacked on top.
We
of
love
each
you,
other.
Tim. But yeah, so getting the opportunity to kind of go off my own, kind of flesh out all the things that I've learned at this point, and just to give that back, right? So I've taught underneath Scott for, I think it's been almost 5 years now, 4 years. It's been a long time. So I learned a lot of stuff, got exposed to a lot of different things that I think benefit you as an instructor, all different avenues and approaches of teaching and different kinds of students and, LE and MIL and open enrollment and appendix work and OW and everything. So I'm really excited in 2025 to kind of kick off, through my lens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly all the things that I've spent a decade trying to get to, right? And I made this point the other day in that post. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, right? I'm not coming out and we're going to start doing like underwater basket weaving night ops or something. Like, it's the same performance work that you've come to expect from me, just with my little tilt on it, right? With my end goal, and just kind of my verbiage, right? Just kind of see and continue to see how that translates to people, right? I'll continue to do this to bring as much value as I can until you guys kick me out. So keep giving it hell.
Hell yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man. I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Very exciting stuff.
It's been interesting to watch over the past week or two after kind of making this announcement, to see the support from the industry has been pretty phenomenal. Because, man, I've known you guys for almost a decade. I've known Matt for the same amount of time. It's not a lot's changed. Like, I'm the same dude that I was in, when I shot beside y'all in classes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. Right now, just want to be able to give that back. Like Matt has said it multiple times, like, be the instructor that you wish that you had in the moment in which you needed it the most, right? And that's, if I can offer that, box checked. So cool. I'm excited to have the control.
Well, I think you did. You've started off on the right foot with your naming convention.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, SEO.
Strategic dynamics.
For SEO,
Yeah.
I mean, like, a lot of, for example, our good friend Joe Dawson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if he's one guy, there were two of them beginning, but it's just one guy now. So you either call him, are you going to Joe's class, or Bruiser's class?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no Joe Dawson's class. Yeah. It's either Joe's or Bruiser's.
Bruiser, yeah.
And so if you go on the internet and you Google Joe Dawson because you want to train with him, you're not going to find it as quick as you would for Bruiser Industries, right? For example, like, but Hunter Freeland Shooting, like, what's this? What's the instructors? Oh, you don't have to figure it out.
Sure.
So you've already started.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not trying to like have to rebrand.
Yeah.
And do all that stuff. Right?
And really, like, the naming, like, I think sometimes people put too much focus on the naming of it. It's like, if you have a good product, like the product being you, the classes and stuff, people will find you.
Yeah.
Like,
and I'm not winning anybody over with a cool name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, you might win one or two people over, but like the people that, like, nobody's not making the decision to take a class or not take a class based on the name.
Sure.
Unless it's like, I don't know, like Unicorn Fairy,
maybe,
or, like
one off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not a flashy human being. I think trying to make that name flashy or catchy is not going to do me any favors. You know, it's not going to be the product that you get in class. So
you also don't have a face for pseudonyms.
No, not a face for pseudonyms, or I've got a face for radio. That's what I've been told. I think that's
I'm excited for your line of beard products, though.
Yeah, when are those?
That's the hardest thing to fight back on the internet, is to just running from all that, from the question. Like, anytime I do a live, and I've talked about this on the podcast, every time I do a live, it's like, hey, let's talk shooting. The first 15 questions are like, what kind of beard oil? What do you put on your face?
Guys, I kind of want to talk about
it doesn't matter what I put on my face. If you put it on your face, it's not going to look the same. Like, just start praying now, I guess. I don't know.
Get one of those rollers or something.
I'm just going to show up one day with a shaved face and just
terrify.
No, don't do that.
Everything
like, I've seen the pre-beard.
Pretty bad.
Yeah. Like, who's that? Don't worry about it.
Every time my wife shares a picture from like
I know.
2010.
I remember the first time I saw it. I was like, holy shit, who's that?
Yeah.
I almost invited you to go to lunch with me and my wife today, but I didn't want her to talk about your hair the whole fucking time.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Like, it's ridiculous.
Let's be honest, though. You don't grow the beard for the ladies, right?
It's for the dudes.
How many compliments do you get from dudes versus women?
It's
like
99% guys.
99%.
Because he keeps the hat on. If the women saw his hair,
I've never had a woman just walk up to me in public like guys do. No woman's ever been like, "That's a great beard." It's always some other like super butch dude that's like walking past in the airport. Is like, "Great beard, guy." It's like, thanks, man. Did it for you.
Hey, your secret weapon though is that you have a hairstylist in your pocket.
Oh yeah. Like, people have no idea. She was my first sponsor. Made me stop looking homeless.
She's done a good job.
Now it's got to stop acting like it. But
so what's your first? Do you have classes on you have the calendar, or is it filling up?
So that's what this week has been all about, right? So yesterday I made the post about bringing in new hosts and stuff like that. I already have a bunch of contact with all my prior hosts that I've had over the past couple of years. So I don't have the same goal that a lot of other instructors have, right? Like, my goal is not to teach 100 classes. I probably couldn't teach 100 classes anyways, but my goal is not to just staff it as much as I can. I'd like to, especially this year, like, control it as much as I can, right? Because now I'm not. It's not Scott's POI. It's not MSP's POI. It's my POI. It's a walking business card, right? So, like, I want, even if I have to cap all the classes at, half as many as I want or something like that, I want the end goal of this has to be the product. It's one thing I love about Mike Mahosky and the Sons of Liberty guns. Like, what's Mike's number one rule about a gun?
It's got to fucking work.
The fucking thing must work, right? And that's, as instructors, I think if we started worrying more about our POI and that it works and not about how flashy it is or, we're in this clique or we're in that group or whatever, the shit has to work. Like, as an instructor, the thing that you're teaching has to work, and it has to work for that person. It can't just be like, oh, it should work based on this, and this. It's like, dude, is the thing that I'm saying to you right now, A plus B, does it equal C in your mind? And if it doesn't, what can I do differently to transfer that end goal to you, right? Because I don't want you to do my grip. I don't want you to do my stance, my vision. Don't do it like me, because you're probably not like me, right? Like, let's figure out what it takes to get you to that end goal. And I found, at least in the past couple of years, it's a lot less about instructing more now. It's more about just developing that human connection in class and coaching and just helping, as opposed to just like putting my verbiage out on shooting, because everybody has their verbiage. Not everybody can help. So
yeah, I think there's plenty of attitude and ego in the industry that you don't need to add any more to that. Like,
sure. I get a little sass from time to time. I'll throw a little shade. It's not my goal, but yeah. I think if we all worried more about or focused more on the product, we'd all get to where we want to go a little faster.
But we wouldn't get the hate clicks.
I'd rather not.
You might still get them. There's always going to be people that disagree.
Well, you always, you can always just, worry about your neighbors and see how is your neighbor doing, by the way?
Yeah.
She'll comment on this YouTube video probably.
She'll be on
2
this one, yeah.
It's going to be like, and prosecution presents evidence 002.
This is how the first 48 starts.
Yeah. I don't know, man. What a weird situation to be in.
So this YouTube video is going to be in evidence.
Yeah, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
Prosecution's going to love this. It's a wild situation to be in, in my mid-30s,
you have a
fighting
stalker.
with my HOA.
That's cool. You have a stalker.
Yeah, a big one.
Yeah.
Big white-haired one. So I don't know where this is going. Like I'm assuming it will reach a climax at some point. I'll probably have to throw bananas or something at her. I don't know, but nobody's more surprised about this than me. And if anybody's wondering,
I was going to say, can we get some
HOA,
context here?
And when I mean fighting with my HOA, I mean considering building an up-armored bulldozer.
It's a joke, NSA.
It's a joke.
It's a joke.
It is a joke.
For legal reasons.
For legal reasons, this is a joke.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Don't make a Hunter's phone blow up.
So, Matt, what's new with you? Since it's been a little while since you've been on, what have you been up to?
So, since we talked last, Hunter and I were both, I think we were both Green Ops at that time. Hunter went on to MSP, or was that, I don't know how long ago it was.
I think you were kind of.
I had a little bit of a dual role.
Yeah,
there
you
for
were.
a little while.
you were both.
You were shooting them both.
So now I'm the director of training for Green Ops in Texas. So I took over last year, and I've been planning, scheduling classes, and teaching for the last year under Green Ops banner. I've been working really heavily with the ranch down in Dilley. Chad Timney down there is, one of the best dudes out there. If you get a chance to go train, shameless shout out.
And then buy his stuff so we can ship it to you.
Yeah. Oh, snap.
Buy the hoodies, hats, t-shirts.
It's here on the website, cbto.com.
No, on the ranch's website,
you're stocking it,
ship
right?
it for him.
Beautiful.
Get you an Onus hat.
Yes, if you buy it from the ranch, we send it out.
We'll send it out.
I need a kickback. That was me. I hooked him up with Chris. Anyway, no, but yeah, I've been teaching, and then it's been a different thing. I've been sort of discovering the different side of the instructor development and running the classes and scheduling and teaching. It's been a lot. I've been wearing a lot of hats through that, and I do that a lot, working with Hunter and doing Onus and then trying to keep everything moving. But yeah, it's been a discovery program for me in developing myself as an instructor and realizing that as you come into these points of leadership, your job is not to be necessarily the best shooter in the group. It's to make all your guys the best shooters they can be, to push them to be better instructors. And that's been more rewarding to me. I think I thought I couldn't get any more rewarding than teaching students, because I always loved that. That's one of the biggest things I enjoyed about teaching, was seeing the lights come on and people, succeed. But watching the guys that I've been helping develop, like if you guys don't know, Jax, the Pew Pew plumber, he's an incredible shooter, incredible guy. He's been working with me.
I'll say it.
Oh yeah,
Jax is a champ.
Yeah, he burned down a bill drill the other day with some 9 splits in it. So he's killing it. But he's been an incredible help to me for media, and just seeing those guys become coming from where I was and seeing that progression. They're going through some of the same struggles with the shooting and the teaching, and being able to help them through that's been incredible. Like Hunter mentioned, man, if you can be that person that you needed, man, it's a different thing. It's a different feeling. It just makes me proud to see guys like Hunter, people we came up together, from the beginning of this whole thing, seeing them succeed and find their dreams, man. If I can be any part of that and help, I feel like that's more rewarding than anything else I can do. So really finding that niche and finding a way to help the people around me, like Chad, like Hunter, we're really digging into that. And then just most recently, it's not technically official yet, but we'll be working with Griffin Armament as a direct sponsorship through them, shooting their cans, and I've got some good relationships with the guys over there, so we've been really enjoying that, shooting their stuff recently. Cool. So I kind of got introduced to that through the guys at Ridgeline. Actually, Jay shooting one of the Griffin cans on his SPR. We were out there shooting for a 5-day DMR program and got hands on it. I was like, I really like this. And then our friend Jordan over at Griffin hit us up and was like, hey, do you guys want to do something with us? So we've been working on that for the last 6-7 months or so.
Oh, nice.
Getting things hammered out, and
Yep.
just got the contract yesterday. So
We're going to start doing some more rifle-oriented
yep,
stuff.
we're going to be doing more. Hunter and I will be doing some rifle stuff together in the coming year.
Give our perspective of rifle stuff from a performance-based standpoint as well.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And that's really been the focus, is discovering, I think for Hunter and I both, is discovering who we really wanted to be. I mean, now we had that freedom, we're starting to discover that, taking over as training director suddenly. For me, it was like within 3 days, Mike was like, hey man, you're going to take over as director of training. I was like, oh, okay. But it gave me the freedom to, as Mike says it, take the rope, you tie a knot or you hang yourself.
Yeah.
And figure out which. And figuring out how to tie knots is it's a struggle. Yeah, but I've been tying the crap out of some rope out here and putting some things together. We've got, I think, between 75 and 80% return students right now in all of our classes. It's been constant people coming back and raving about what we're doing. And obviously the year's been weird. The economy's been down in ammo, we talked about earlier. So classes have been kind of fluctuating more than they usually do, but we've had, weird classes where it's like 6-7 students, and then we have 18 students in a class. So it's back and forth. But
I think that's also by proxy of, like, you've kind of locked down this area of Texas. South Central area.
Yep.
And then he's going to do more stuff on the road next year. So I think as that expands, that class size will get bigger.
I'd like to come teach over here some more. We talked about it before. I'm meaning to get in touch out here and come over, just teach class, just to, get into this realm and be around Houston, because we taught some classes with greenhouse when we were here out at Wallace Orchard and with Craig over at Templar, and really enjoyed that.
I like to call that the pit of hell.
So the last time we
class.
Yep. When it was
that class was
99 and 89,000% humidity, and I should have used deodorant
with no wind
down here, just everywhere.
Dude, that class was
it was so sweaty. But the sort of expanding and developing, really finding our own step as instructors and as people in this realm. Like, I don't know there's anybody else our age that's really doing this, right? There's a few other guys in the industry, but there's a handful of us. Like Nick, Mark, all these other guys in the industry that are shooting really well and starting to teach.
I think you've got some other younger guys that are coming up that maybe I don't think they've been in the industry nearly as long, but as far as where they're at in their shooting career, it's been phenomenal to watch. So you got guys like Gateway Defense,
Brandon Brennicky,
You've got I think Nick and Paul and all of us are about the same.
Yeah, close to the same age.
Rick, all those guys.
Mark,
so, dude, I think the industry always has an interesting outlook. Like, things are going great, things are headed in bad direction, all this kind of stuff, right? I think with this, because instructors are generational for the most part. Like, you've got the 50 to 60 group, the 30 to 40. I think this other group of instructors that's coming up, that's kind of everybody between 30 and 38 in that realm, is going to push this industry forward. I'm excited to see, because it took time, right, for some of the older stuff to transition out, and for this more performance-oriented stuff to kind of come in, and we're seeing the blending of the tactical space and the competition space, and it's phenomenal to watch. And I think, dude, we have just barely scratched the surface of where stuff is headed. Just seeing some of these young dudes, 21, 22 years old, guys and girls, showing up and getting better, and how much better they're getting faster, and then that level of better is so much higher. I'm seeing dudes make generational jumps in a couple of days, where I'll see them go from beginning of day 1 to end of day 2, and they're just like, I got a lot better. And it's like,
you have no idea.
It's how long it took me to get to that.
It took me 4 years to do that.
Yep.
It's man, I think we're just right on the bare edge of it.
We've talked about this before, just the access to good training and information that's available now. I'm not that old, but
in the 1900s.
Back in the 1900s. But just as long as I've been around, just the leaps and bounds that we've made as an industry is pretty impressive.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
If you look back 20 years, it's completely.
Yeah. Well, we've been behind 30 years for the most part. The gun industry and training industry has been, of all the industries, it's 20 or 30 years behind everything else, it seems like, at least on the manufacturing side as well. So now we've kind of seen that get propelled forward to where the stuff is. Shit works.
Well, I think 8-10 years ago, if you look back and you see what percentage of the shooters coming to classes were on the rip running mid 2 or sub 2 build drills, right? The percentages are way higher now. And people leaving classes being way better than they were. I mean, we got guys like Jax started training with us 4 or 5 years ago. Now he's running, 130, 140 build drills.
From concealment.
That's stuff that 10 years ago was no, that's not possible. The gun won't run that fast or stuff. And the guys that were doing that were, a few guys that were GMs in the high-level competition stuff in those spaces. But like you mentioned, Hunter mentioned the blending of that performance shooting and tactical shooting space, where we've really stopped thinking this is going to get you killed in the streets, or this is going to do that. People really are starting to see that shooting is shooting. Performance-based shooting is what it is, and it can't do anything but help you. Right?
Yeah.
If you can't change gears in your head and go, I should find cover, then that's not a competition shooting problem, right? That's a you problem that no class is going to fix. But that reality in that space has changed so much in the last 5 years.
It's been
people
fun
are starting to
through
accept
all
it.
the
It's
LE
amazing.
classes that I did this past year. The majority of the classes I teach are LE instructor classes. I make the joke that it's a 2-day class about grip, sights, trigger, and vision. But it's really an opportunity for me to sneak as much performance shooting into y'all's experience as possible, right? Because every LE department agency out there is super hyper accurate, or wants to be. The goal is to be hyper accurate, which is not always the case. No speed influence, no nothing, right? So I've got 16 hours to try to expose you to as much hot, nasty speed and accuracy as I can. Yeah, like I want you to get better for sure. Like, and that's going to happen. But man, I've got such a limited amount of time to like show you where the wheels fall off that we're going to explore. Like, we're going to figure some stuff out because you probably haven't tried that in any other capacity. Like just getting dudes to put their finger on the trigger before their sights are lined on the target. Like that's a fracturing mental problem for a lot of people. They're like, I just can't do that. And it's like, man, we've got to get you more comfortable. You carry that thing for a living on your hip. Like you signed up, you took that leap of faith. You were like, give me that badge, give me that gun, send me out in public. We got to get you a little more comfortable than that. Yeah. Right? Because on game day, it's going to get wicked. Yeah. You know, you better get in front of it now.
I wonder there's a lot of factors that are going into what we've got now in the firearms industry or in the training side. There's a lot of factors because if you look back at it and dudes getting out early GWAT that maybe did 1 or 2 tours, right, and had limited exposure to performance-based shooting at the time, if any at all, you know, depending on where they were, you know, Delta guys, Dev guys, they were doing the competitions and stuff for forever. But that has progressively grown, right? And then, like, how much time did they actually run with, like, optics?
Sure.
Like, what optics were they running? You know, and how that transition now, okay, they did 1 or 2 tours, and then these dudes are getting out with 14, 15, 16 years of a deployment every 3 to 9 months.
Yeah, Goose, our buddy Goose, John Johnson, he's got 35 deployments.
Yeah. Like, ridiculous.
And he just retired.
It's like there was a party he didn't want to miss or something.
Yeah. I got to be here. But he's, I mean, all over North Africa, Syria, stuff like that. And it's funny you mentioned, it's kind of like it related to me the other day about like cell phone technology. We were talking about Nokia's. Like, even not that long ago, it feels like we were carrying Nokia brick phones and Blackberries and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then suddenly there's this paradigm shift in technology and it shifts over. And we've seen the same thing in the shooting and gun community. It's like it's just constantly accelerating. We can't slow it down.
It's getting easier.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everything. All these changes are intended on making it easier.
I think
to figure out like what's worth it.
I left in 2006 to go to Iraq, and iPods, right? Not an iPhone.
Yeah.
iPods and Zunes were having the war of like who was going to make it.
The MP3
and then we came back, and it was just iPhone. It was like there was no in between anymore.
They took the Zune out back and murdered it.
They took that. They took iPods out, threw those away too, because now your phone can do it. Here's your iPhone, and that
the little
happened.
Nano,
iPods.
Yeah,
the little Nanos that
shuffles
people
and
had
stuff.
those.
Oh, yeah.
At the gym and stuff. It carries 200 songs.
yeah.
You get the little armband, you know, that it slides into, and they had like the shuffle too that didn't even have a screen.
Yeah.
It was just
a
just
play
hit
button.
the go next.
Yeah.
It was a very short time in my life, but I remember getting on the school bus with a Walkman.
Oh yeah,
I remember that.
Skip protection, baby.
And like I distinctly remember I had like a Modest Mouse CD, like a Evanescence CD, some other stuff.
This is so revealing about your state of mind.
Yeah, we Velcroed Walkman CD player to the top of our radio mount in the Humvee. Yeah, and you hit a fucking bump.
Yep. Talking like this makes me want to go put on an old J-frame and a vest.
Yeah, Ian's got a couple in the office.
Yeah,
He's
got
got
that
a
on
picture of
standby.
his new vest he bought the other day. He couldn't wait.
You say J-frame 3 times, and he pops up out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's like Beetlejuice.
No doubt.
Don't look in the mirror while you
You
do
see this
that.
new one I got in 22? No, I haven't. I've not seen that.
Let me see that.
But we're just going to see more and more. It's going to be more and more better, right? It's going to get better as the time goes by. The more people, you know, you got your military side and your performance side. Then you got dudes that were shoeing horses one day, and he's like, I'm just going to be a fucking grandmaster now. You know, like just that transition.
Well, dude, so even like on the like a lot of your soft teams and groups and stuff, I know a couple of civilian dudes in Louisiana. They're just some farmers. Like they're just farmers, like soybean and
crawfish,
rice.
Right?
I don't know if you farm crawfish, but like soybeans and rice, and like that's just the kind of farmers they are. And they were brought in the early 2010s and teens to train up snipers on the SF side. It's like we can all learn something from somebody.
Yeah,
like
one of the first,
takes
Jerry Barnhart's one of the first big guys they brought in.
Garcia,
The burner,
all those
baby.
guys. Yeah.
Dude, electrician by day, training Delta
Murderer.
at night.
Yep.
Yeah, crazy.
And that's
awesome.
It's awesome to see the changes, man. And I've just come to like in awe and appreciate like how many great dudes are out there doing it now, like really preaching the gospel. And I think it's funny because my mentor, my boss, Mike Green, said something one time. He said, nobody out there is stealing your money or your happiness, right? It's the idea that they're doing it that steals your money and your happiness. There's plenty of us to going around to be able to do any of this. Like, there's so many people out there looking for training that are wanting more, especially now with millions and millions, tens of millions of new gun owners and people out there with guns in their hand. My goal, and I think my focus over the last year is really cultivated into this, like, find those people that are carrying guns in public and find out, like, hey, are you actually good? Are you good to be doing it, right? Yeah, go around and ask people in Home Depot, like, hey, what gun is that?
Yeah.
Let me touch it.
You got to die.
No, but I'm really finding people, like, ask them the hard questions. Like, if right now, today was the day you're going to walk out and get into a gunfight, like, are you prepared for that? We've had this conversation with a bunch of students. We talk about HEB and the aisles in HEB, and we talk to their security team. How long are the aisles?
Yeah,
like 30-something, 40 yards in an HEB
if not
aisle.
Longer.
Yeah. How do you feel? Are you comfortable shooting that distance? And I've been doing in classes like 80, 90 yards with handguns. We've been shooting C-zone steel at 80 and 90 yards. We've been shooting 8-inch gongs at 50 and 65 yards in that range. And people find out they can do it.
Yeah.
And increasing that capability and that confidence in the public and actually giving people a skill set, because what terrifies me the most is there's people out there carrying a gun around my friends' kids and my wife and people around them. Like, man, how dare you? How dare you walk around? It's your right. Feel free. You're constitutionally guaranteed that right to do that, and I have nothing to say about that. But if your skill set is not there, I want to help you get there. I do.
And I want you walking safety violation.
Yeah, I want to give you the mindset that when the time comes, you understand why, you understand how. And I went through Tom Given's Rangemaster earlier this year, and dude, I can't speak highly enough about the information in that class. And like, it's not a shooting class; it's an instructional, like, mindset and mentality class. And going through that was eye-opening. Some of the stories he tells, and you could listen to 911 tapes and just all kinds of information from that. But really, how to understand violence and where it comes from, and giving people that awareness. He said, one of the big things they discover is people end up getting killed because they're in this moment of locked up, even with a gun on. They'll be like, man, why is this happening to me? How could this happen to me? Well, the answer is it doesn't matter. It does not matter why it's happening to you. The answer is no, not today, right? Once you get past that, you go, yep, it's just my turn to bat. I'm up today. And you can put that in your mind and start ruminating on that before that ever happens. Suddenly you're like, oh, here I am. This sucks, but let's get it done. And when you give people the skill set and the mindset together to do that, it suddenly changes the whole spectrum of what civilians are out there doing. And there's been people in the industry trying to do this for decades, right? Like, to awaken the general public to that. And I feel like as much as it's a battle we're fighting every time, I've got to keep fighting it. I've got to keep pushing. And that's been my heart and my focus is over the last year, really giving people the performance and mechanical skill set that we've talked about, performance-based shooting. Right? And I ask people, like, what tactic's going to save you? If you're walking through the middle of an aisle at HEB and somebody walks in with a gun, are you going to ninja roll out of it? Or are you going to backflip? Like, you're going to call in the helicopter and rope your way out? Like, what are you going to do?
Didn't know that was an option. But
I would totally. Like, life alert, come get me with the helicopter. But you better know how to shoot. And that is the key skill. And we've just really harped on that. And I've dug into it so hard this year and discovered how much people really want that. When you really expose them to that and they start seeing what it means to be a good shooter, it just, like, it becomes passion again, right? You reawaken this want to be more. And that wakens it back up in me. I mean, it's like this reciprocating relationship you have with the students that they just really makes you more passionate every day you get up and do this. And I'm just thankful that I get up every day and get to do this because it's incredible. And puts me in touch with guys like you because it's great.
And that's a really good segue into all the questions that you sent me that finally have come through on my phone.
Ooh, I'm ready.
So you said life alert, and then before we go right into that, did y'all see Eric Prince's little watch thing that he gave out 200 Blackwater watches, and it's got a satellite in it to where if you're
is it that Breitling one
yes.
that you pull out like the little deal?
So there's no point to saying this at all.
I think
heard life
Breitling.
alert, and then I'm here at BTO. We need BTO Seikos. that if I get in trouble, I can just
hit the button and like
I
a
think
BTO.
it's Breitling that makes that.
Yeah.
Is Ian going to show up with a J-frame or?
I'm okay with that. Like I'm solidly okay with Ian just popping up with it.
He just hops out of like a leather sack.
Yeah, I'm fine with him riding shotgun with a J-frame. He's pretty damn good with it.
It goes collateral on the guy when he's not looking.
We'll go back to the
yeah.
I had to say that.
So
when he said life alert with the helo evac, that's immediately where I went. Was that watch?
Yep.
Here we go. This is for Hunter. Who or Matt, if we have time, depending on how long Hunter's question is, who or what motivated you to become an instructor? What defining moment was there when Hunter Freeland from Bastrop, Louisiana, said to himself, I'm going to travel the country and help people be better versions of themselves?
Oof.
Everybody threw a hot one at you there.
I don't know if there was a defining moment. So kind of all this got started in a couple of different ways. I grew up in the middle of nowhere. My parents were very militaristic, conservative, you kicked out of the house at 7 o'clock in the morning, you don't come back till 7 o'clock in the evening. I grew up on 350 acres with a creek that ran through it. So I spent a lot of time on my own as a kid. I had an autistic brother that, had a blast growing up with him, but he's not going to run around the woods with me, right? So grew up doing that. So, I wanted to end up doing military stuff, right? That was a goal. And then, ironically, the military didn't really scratch that itch for me, so it transitioned onto other stuff. But, so I grew up, got my first red dot gun in 1998, a little Ruger Mark II with an 8.2000 on top of it. It looked like Luke Skywalker's gun. So I had a blast with that. I knew I wanted to do something in that format. Ended up losing some opportunities to go play ball. And then about 6 to 8 months later, I ended up enlisting as a 19 Delta, which was a lot of fun and stuff. But in 2012, December 10th of 2012, my sister was murdered in Bossier. I think we talked about this in the first podcast. So I lost my sister in 2012. And so, I felt pretty powerless for a long time after that. Like my ability to control things or enact change was kind of taken away from me, right? I found through that violent chase to learn how to shoot better, I was able to kind of use that therapeutically, right? And I always, even from as being a young kid, I wanted to be the dude with the answer, right? I make the joke all the time in class where I answered a question in front of my dad and his friends one time, and I've been chasing that high 20 years, right? So I always wanted to be the dude that helped and that had the answers. So just through the culmination of all those things, even in 2014 when I started taking it really seriously, and then traveling the country in 2016 and training with everybody that I could, it was just a bunch of different little outside sources that were constantly kind of pushing me towards the thing. And I don't know if it's teaching is the thing as much as it is just connecting with all the people that like the same thing I do. And that's not guns and it's not training. I like getting better at stuff, right? Whether that be with guns, whether that be in life, whether that be with reading, whether that be with other experiences. I just want to be surrounded by people that are just hungry at life. And I get to do that and at least mentally think that I'm giving back some on the LE side, right? Because I enjoyed my short career in LE, same thing in military. This just allows me to keep that connection to my original goal by doing this, right? And the fact that I get to travel the country and do it is not ever lost on me. I'm very appreciative and honored to that I get to. I think it's so rare to get to do the thing that you love the most in life. And I never would have thought that I'd be able to accomplish that, especially at the rate that I did. So, yeah, man, I don't know if that's an answer or not.
I think you got it.
Yeah, that's where it came from, and that's where I'm going. We'll look up in a couple of years, everybody may be sick of me, sends me home. We'll see.
Here's a good one on the training side and the less personal side.
Okay.
For both of y'all here, if you have 50 rounds for a pistol and 50 rounds for a rifle for the day, what drills are you running?
You want to take the rifle one?
Send it.
So 50 rounds. I'm not doing any draw work. I can do all that in dry fire. Probably doing 50 rounds. That's the issue. I don't ever show up to the range with just 50 rounds. Probably some bills at distance to just force consistent dot behavior while being cold or whatever people want to call that these days. And, dude, honestly, I'd probably lean in on just throttle control for everything else, right? Whether that throttle control be associated with lateral or vertical transitions, wide transitions, minimal transitions, bumps, whatever you want to do, but transitioning from careful targets to aggressive targets, stuff like that. I'd probably lean in hard on that because I think the lowest hanging fruit for everybody outside of the draw is just going to be the intensity in which you engage different size targets. That's probably my goal, 50 rounds. I would just show more 50 rounds if it was me, but if I only had 50, that's what I'd do.
Yeah. So with rifle, I think for me, one of the biggest things I think people forsake on rifle is a really solid zero. Like, mechanically, I need to know that this gun is exactly where I want it to be. And actually zeroing the distances and confirming, like, people are like, oh, 25, I got a 25-yard zero. I'm like, ish.
Yeah, you might be just a hair left at 25.
Yeah, you're way off down there.
Yeah.
Right? So a really good zero, say 5-10 rounds, right? I mean, if you really want to spend the time, shoot, 3 rounds, if you get a zero shift, but then complete a 8 or 10 round zeroing group, right? Because we get 10 rounds, we actually have an aggregate here. We have points to score. We have a real representation of what the gun and you are capable of, right? I would take between 15 and 20 rounds and do some really wide transition work. So most of the transition stuff you see with rifles, we do like on the same target, right? We're doing like little short, like if you put your hand out in front of you, you're only moving the gun an inch or two. I would do some like steel on either corner of the bay, wide transition stuff, and just bounce the gun back and forth and visually track and start preparing the gun and do it as fast as you can. Really push yourself and explore how quickly can I visually see press, get off, see press, and moving the gun, settle press, right? And then I would do some like 40-yard bill drills. So 2 or 3 bill drills at 40 yards are really, like Hunter said, the same thing with the handgun. You're forcing consistent dot behavior. You're testing your interface to the gun. You can do that with doubles as well, like interchangeable, whether you do doubles or bills.
And I think for both of us, the bill part is not the mandatory part.
Yeah,
shooting more than 2 shots.
Yeah.
Shooting more than 2, less than.
We start guessing at 2. You kind of just go that. We get the same thing with like the competition. That yes, it's good for judging your behavior and stuff. On a pistol, I think it's a little more valuable than on a rifle. Just for me, I like a couple more rounds, like 3, because it's forcing you to get out of just a reactionary response. It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's forcing you to track the gun through more motion, through more impulse, more recoil of that. And then finally, I think really pushing yourself through moving the gun, run from start at 100, maybe shoot 5 rounds, run to 50. 5 rounds, 25, 5 rounds, and then get down to 10 and shoot 5 rounds and really push yourself through that speed pace.
You do things differently when you're uncomfortable.
Exactly. Yeah. And actually throttling in and out of that, like, I've got to go, settle. That throttle control mentally is a huge part of the shooting process for rifle because it's a lot easier when you have more contact. So you got to mentally throttle and build good body position because that is the key factor. If your body position's not built before you start shooting, you're going to know.
What is it? Kyle's, the mod Navy qual? What is that one where you start out
standing,
kneeling, prone?
Yeah, standing, reload, kneeling, reload, prone.
And then the one he does for that, so it's not the one I was talking about. The one he does where you're start touching the target, run out to 100.
Pistol and rifle standards.
That's a good.
Yeah, there's some great ones.
That's
there.
a good.
He was one of the early ones that was doing really good standards. I liked his. I think it was pistol standards 1 or 2, where you run to 25 and you fire 6 rounds on a V8.
It all includes movement,
and then come down to a half-size bill drill and stuff like that. All of that really pushing yourself to be uncomfortable, pushing yourself out of something you're going to repeat a lot. Because anybody can sit there and run 100 bill drills, and you're going to get one, right? Training with Tim Herron this last year, I really got a real taste for the consistency aspect of your shooting. Because if you can't do it 8 or 9 times out of 10, you really don't own that skill yet. And owning that skill, being able to do it almost every single time on command, that has become so much more valuable to me than doing 50 reps of something and getting it once.
And once you figure stuff out, like, don't be afraid to like move into other stuff. Like I've been super the past couple of years. My chase for performance in certain aspects of my training was violent. Right, like I wanted to get as fast and accurate as I could, but it kept me from moving and progressing forward in some other stuff. Right, so like now I'm leaning in way more in movement, right, entries and exits, and accepting less less consistent dot behavior based on the potentiality of a miss on the target because I'm moving, all that stuff. Once you figure stuff out standing still, you make it harder not by adding more to the drill, but by now doing it underneath motion, right? And I think that can go somewhat – I don't think people talk about that enough. When you should start moving, when you should not be moving, right? Like we all need to get to where we can move at the same time, but if you suck at moving and you suck at shooting and then you try to do both of them at the same time, you're just going to get a sucky result, right? So let's get good at both of them separately, put them together, because the end goal is to be able to complete complex actions with the gun in our hand without the gun in our hand being the central focus of the problem.
It was a hyper-isolating on certain skills to get really good at specific things, which is what a lot of these standards that you see out there, people shooting on the air, which not to knock any of them, they're great standards, but people wonder why they can't achieve them. They like seem so unreasonable to them. Well, those guys have hyper-focused that skill set for a long time. Yeah. A lot of these guys have been shooting this specific set of drills or skill sets nonstop for a year, right? That's all they do. And
for years.
Yeah, and that kind of repetition, it will breed a certain level of automaticity and your ability to be able to pick the gun up and just do it. But that problem is we get so focused, like Hunter mentioned, so focused on specific static skill sets or one thing or another, and you start opening your head up to different things, and you have to. Once you do that, you start to see how much, like, that higher level of skill you developed on the flat range standing still, suddenly it's like I only have to deal with one thing, which is the movement. I don't have to worry about the shooting so much. It's a little bit of change in more patience with the sights or whatever, but you know how to do that already. You've done it in throttle control. You've done it in distance shooting. You've done it in all of that at speed, under pace. It gives you the ability to just walk right into that. And I think that's what people forget. They don't want to spend the time doing the work on the line. Like, it is hard.
Yeah.
It sucks to beat that door down. But once you pick it up and do it, now anything else you do is just easier. And it's the old adage of, like, the work is the work. Mm-hmm. There is no magic pill you're going to take. There's nothing you're going to do, no class you're going to do. And this seems controversial coming from people who sell classes for a living. Classes are exposure. You get exposed to a new skill set. You get exposed to new techniques and all of that. But you have to go home and do that work on your own. There's no number of classes you can go to, and I don't care how many. You could do 2,000, 3,000 hours a year of class training, and you might get somewhat better. But if you go home every day and you put your gun in the box and you never touch it, think about it, do anything about it, you haven't leaned in. You haven't committed yet. And I've seen guys who have shot 2 classes and they come back 6 months later, 180 degrees different shooter. They're incredible. And then I've seen guys who have taken 40 hours, 50 hours of private lessons and taken 10 classes from different instructors, and they're still the same aggressively mediocre shooter that they were when they started. Right? And that's painful, right? Because they look at you and they're like, as instructors, they look at you and they're like, why am I not getting better? I feel like your class is failing me. I'm like, maybe it is. Maybe you're failing you. And I hate to do that to people, but, like, I would rather you come to one class and then take all of that and go, holy crap, I've got a lot to work on, and go home and get so much better and come back and see me and be like, I'm a better shooter than you are. That's the biggest compliment you could give to an instructor, is to come back better than they are. Yep. Like, suddenly show up and you did that work and you're a better shooter than they are. Dude, I'm like, I started that.
That's why I can't wait to shoot my second QP match.
Yeah.
Right?
Soon to be in Texas.
Oh, they just had one.
We shot 2 weekends ago? Last weekend? Mm-hmm. Was it last weekend or 2 weeks ago? I don't know.
Sometime in the past.
It was when I was out of town.
It was a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Whatever. And I already know, like, we haven't reviewed the video yet. Mm-hmm. We got video. Me and Ike went and shot. Very eye-opening, and just, like, changing up, like you were talking about that. Just like changing movement, changing the sequence you're shooting the fucking targets also is hard, because you shoot 3 stages where you're shooting near to far, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, you need to shoot target 1, 2, 3, and 4 in that order, and they're not near to far.
Oh yeah, and that's a changing a variable in a controlled environment.
Yeah,
that's a simple change.
And they've told you, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, and now balance. You've been thinking, let me just elevate, and suddenly it's a 400-yard target, a 100-yard target, a 500-yard target, and that dope change in your brain goes, ow, wait.
It's like, why small brain, no work?
Yeah.
Or you get completely used to, and this is something I haven't talked to you about yet, but like shooting at the ranch here in Eagle Lake, if you're shooting on the KD range, you're shooting down.
Yep.
Right? you're shooting down into a berm,
Mm-hmm.
and so like if you miss,
Feedback.
it's instant feedback right there, by it. Oh, you missed it by 6 inches because you saw that. You go, bleep, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hit it.
Well, flat range.
Well, now you're
60
flat,
yards behind it,
and you're hitting the 700-yard berm, 30 feet to the right. You're like, how do I call that wind?
That math don't matter.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed that too, but
Yeah.
it was definitely
It's hard to call.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where like all of the pre-preparation when you talk about like building dope, understanding your reticles, understanding your gun and your information, what it's actually doing, and going out and proofing it. Suddenly, you've got good information. You train with Ridgeline. Those guys up there at Ridgeline are doing an amazing thing. I did their 5-day DMR program, and to look at how precise they go into the math of like not just the ammo and understanding velocities, but like what's your actual to the 1/8 of an inch, what's your mechanical offset for your optic, right? How much is your optic riding over that barrel? Put that information in correctly, because you will not get good data if you don't put in the right information.
It's only as good. Data you get is only as good as you put it in.
Yeah, you put trash in, you get trash out.
Did you get a true when you were at the range the other day?
No.
You didn't get. I didn't get a true with my new ammo.
Applied Ballistics deleted all my data.
I changed.
I saw that post.
Yeah,
I changed.
I found out 2 days before the QP match.
That makes me sick to my stomach.
And my ammo got here Saturday.
What do you guys shoot? 5.56 or?
Yeah.
I was shooting 5.56. Yeah.
So I just bought a 6 max barrel from Sons the other day, and I haven't built it yet, but because I can't get brass, but I've shot a couple of 6 max.
You caused that problem.
I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
So you're making plates now for variety of pistols and variety of optics. What? Tell us about them. What makes it special? Why should we buy this over somebody else? And kind of what's the process behind it all?
So our goal, and then Matt will echo this. The goal was not to reinvent the wheel here. It was we wanted to provide a good rock solid plate at a good price for a warranty that was easy to deal with if it was needed. Okay, it was probably 2.5 years ago at this point. I was sitting on the couch one day, just came off the road. And I had called Matt, and I was like, because whatever I do in this industry, it's going to be like Matt's going to be involved, right? Like we're always looking for how can we bring as much value as we can. And at the time, I had bought a plate from an existing company, and showed up missing a screw, wouldn't sit on my gun, and I was just like, dude, this is ridiculous. I paid like $90 for this thing. It doesn't fit. It's a weird design, and then it didn't come with all the hardware that I wanted. So I called that company. I was like, hey, man, I need to send this back. And the guy was like, well, did it not fit? Like, what's the deal? And I was like, well, yeah, it didn't fit. It's missing some parts. And he's like, send me a picture. Like, something doesn't sound right here. And it was just this questioning me every step of the way. So I called Matt. I was like, hey, dude, I think we can offer something here, right? I think we can do it at a price that's better. I think we can build a better product for less. And then, people know us at this point. So, like, if we put our name on something that says that it works, I think people are going to be drawn to it. And then 2, here's our warranty. If it doesn't work or you do not like it, keep it. We're fine. Rock and roll with it, right? We're not going to go back and forth about forcing you to do this and replacing this and all this. It's going to be super simple. You don't like it? That sucks, man. There's lots of other plates out there. You rock and roll with it.
You're not going to make fun of them on the internet.
No, okay. No, I'm not going to roast them.
I not agree to that.
Depending. So basically what we kind of broke down was a lot of the plates on the market have one bumper, right, on one end, right, and then the one side of the of the optic butts up against that, but there's nothing on the other end of it. So there's nothing actually encapsulating the optic inside of the plate other than screws. If you want to put that much tension on your screws, they're going to break every time, or you're just biding time until it does break.
Right? Over tightening your screws to compensate for that.
To compensate for it, or pulling the plate off the gun. Which causes so many other issues, heat displacement, all this other stuff. So we're like, man, can we figure out a way to make it where an optic and a plate is a single unit, and then that fits in the footprint of the gun, right? How do we make it to where the optic has the least amount or the least capability to move on the gun, which is going to put less stress on the screws, which is going to make the longevity of the entire system last longer. So we want to make a tighter plate, right, that fits tight to the gun, right? You may get a plate that doesn't perfectly fit on your gun. Send it back, keep it, we'll send you another one, whatever you want to do. But the tolerances are so tight on this thing that we want it to pop in, stay in, not shift, no side-to-side, front-to-back movement. And then, adversely, we want the optic to do the same exact thing. We want it to pop into place. I would say on 80% of these things, you're going to have to take your optic with a little mallet, and just happen into place because we want it to fit super tight. So there is no undue stress that's being put on it from a certain angle because a screw is tight here and not tight here, or the bumper here is inside the locator node, with a different amount of tension or something.
A rubber mallet and tap it in. Just
you can use a metal mallet. You're a madman. You do exactly what you want. You're a free American. Because we've used both.
Live.
I would like to put, for legal reasons, do not use a steel hammer to smash this thing in.
You do.
Yeah, wait, who's handling customer service? Clearly, it's not
y'all
Hunter.
know it's not me. Yeah, y'all know I won't be handling customer.
As Hunter mentioned earlier, people say that things aren't a joint activity, but we do everything together. So we're going to do customer service together and just send conflicting messages and figure it out.
Yeah, just two different warranty threads. Where they're talking to me. I don't know what Matt's talking about. They're talking to Matt. So this company is set up in a very specific way. We all three have our own jobs, right? And thankfully, I don't have to do theirs.
Who's the third? For those who don't know.
Jeff
Morris.
Of course,
Actual
Jeff Morris.
Actual Jeff.
He's our big third leg, is what we like to call Jeff, because Jeff is probably, I don't know, 10 times the businessman that both Matt and I are. And Jeff has two jobs within the company. Two, make sure all the numbers work, and he does that in spades. And then two, he's a little bit of a handler, and he handles me and Matt. Right? It's like when I want to go burn somebody's house down, Jeff's like, we're not going to do that.
You ever been bowling and you put the little bumpers up?
Yeah.
That's Jeff.
Jeff's the bumper.
Yeah, we're
Jeff,
the person
You're
that's
the big old
overhead
bowling
casting
ball.
bowling
Yeah.
balls down the lane. That's us. But
Yeah. So this is our offering, man. So we've got the locator nodes. We've got front and rear bumpers. We've got good thread engagement, the width of the plate. We've got just enough that you have a thin plate, but you have still good thread engagement to where your stuff's not going to come undone, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Starting off with Glock MOS. So we'll have all the RMR, SRO, 507 comp. We've got 509T plates rolling out, Delta Point Pros. Also looking at the MPS and the P2s, because P2s are flying off guns these days, and it's not going to be because of our plate. So if your P2 breaks, it's not because the plate was bad.
So you're making those out of aluminum or steel?
And this is where Matt's expertise comes in.
yeah, so these are based off a 1018 steel. We went with steel originally. We had the conversation.
01 tool
Aluminum. Yeah, we originally were using an 01 tool steel. It's extremely hard. And then when you nitride them, it actually can be harder than some of the steel that's on the slides of the guns. 17.4 stainless is really hard, but we didn't ever want the plate to be the issue with damaging the slide. We wanted the plate to take the abuse.
Because people do wild stuff with their guns.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we want these to fit in. And this is the thing. Most of the companies you see out there, like, they'll look at the tolerance specs, like most optics, plus or minus 5,000, something like that. Slides as well. We went to about 2.5, right? So we're half that. It's going to be tight. We wanted it that way. We want that thing to pop in. We want that energy from the transfer, from that kinetic energy from the slides reciprocating to be transferred to the body of the plate to like unitize that to the gun, and then the optic sitting is going to use it unitize that energy transfer to the housing, right? Not the screws. It's going to change that process. And heavier, harder steel, you don't have to worry about T-nuts. You don't have to worry about anything like that. We've got enough. These are actually thicker than we originally talked about because we wanted to add screw engagement.
Yeah.
Because
I
that's
was just looking at that, how much thread
Yep.
engagement you have.
There's
on
quite a bit of thread engagement. We talked about it and we went over.
Because if you get more
thickness
than
of
that,
the
you get a
plate.
thick plate. You're just stacking height.
And it's unnecessary
Less, you're
past a
not going to
certain
get a
point.
consistent
And that
lockup.
plate looks actually pretty thin. But I was looking at the thread engagement that you have.
It's quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a
'Cause
good balance.
We've gone back and forth 20 different ways on these things. We've
Yep.
used 4 or 5 different screws with different thread sizes. We've tried locator nodes. We've tried raised threads. We've tried we've bounced this through in our due diligence to make sure we're not bringing some BS to the market.
It needs to bolt in and just hammer this thing and take every bit of abuse you can ever put on it and keep ticking and keep your gun together, keep your optics zeroed, and make things work the way they should. And that's been the goal from us from day one. And I think we became so exacting and so critical on
That we were
tolerance
never gonna
specings
have a
and
product.
vision.
Yeah.
We really were beating ourselves to death trying to find the way to make this work. And I think we found the middle ground on this, and we finally have a product that we're really proud of. And
Because that's not the only great plate.
no, there's
out
other
there. There's
great
other
plates
companies
out
that
there.
produce great plates. We're not trying to confuse anybody or anything like that. Like, there are other good plate manufacturers now, in the time difference when we started to now. So, like, man, you have the opportunity to support who you want to support. If you want to support us, let's rock and roll. If not, there's other great companies. It's gonna work. Your optic's not gonna come off. You're gonna maintain zero, man. Rock and roll with it, right? We're not gonna become millionaire plate owners overnight. And then Onus Group is an attempt to help solve problems that exist now. Like we're not a plate centric company. Like plates is the thing that brought us to market, but we have a lot of other answers to a lot of questions that some people are asking. That's just going to start rolling out over the next year now that we have some fluidity and stuff is finally starting to roll. So like other mounts and shooter specific.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, really, I think the goal for us, as we discussed this originally, was like being in the position we are as in the shooting community as shooters and instructors. We have a sort of specific view on problems and a bigger view of things we see reoccurring, whether it's mounts, whatever it is. Find those problems and start trying to put a solution to them as best we can. Fill those holes until there's a better product or better solution. And then we're not attached to the product emotionally. Like, this is just a solution for the problem we saw. And
until a better one comes along.
Yeah, and if there's a better one, rock on. We're great with it. But we wanted people to see where we were trying to go with this. Really give you a quality tool that completes something you can trust, especially if you're going to trust your life with that gun. That's what we want. I don't care how flashy it looks. It needs to work, right? The whole thing. So that was it for us, man. And we're so happy to be able to bring these to you guys, and hopefully people see the value in it and see what we're trying to do and support that. If you do, thank you so much. We appreciate it, and we thank you guys for bringing us here to let you see this and start carrying this stuff for us. We can't tell you how much we appreciate you guys.
We're excited about it.
Yep. It's been a long road.
Yeah. I'm excited that they're here. We got them.
I'm excited. I'm going to swap out optics probably tonight. Then.
Thank you.
Bang it on. Nylon or rubber mallet.
Right.
Or if you're
Hunter's like, get the
a 2-pound sledge, man, and just
hit it hard enough with a flint hammer, you can probably create a spark.
There you go.
Hit it with an E-swing.
Who are you? I have a flint hammer. You living in a cave?
On that note, we really appreciate you watching. Check out Onus Group. Their website is
onusgroupllc.com.
All right. These plates will be available on Big Tex already before this podcast probably airs next week, which is now end of September. They'll be available, so travel back in the past. You can find more information about Hunter Freeland Shooting at
hfshooting.com.
There we go.
Super simple. Straight to the point.
And then Matt.
green-ops.com or McGuire_the-way-forward on Instagram. You'll have to type the whole thing. We're shadow banned.
Yep.
Everybody else.
Yeah, you got to do at Hunter Freeland on mine. Spelled all the way out.
Yep, spelled all the
bottom.
way out. But yes, you can get contact with me through GreenOps or matt@green-ops.com.
Fantastic, guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
It's always fun.
Once again, thank you for watching, listening, downloading, like, share, comment. Check us out on Rumble.
Hugs and
subscribe.
kisses.
Subscribe to the YouTube channels and all the things. We appreciate it.